I'm going to talk about something that isn't necessarily a big bad true crime story, but I thought it was super interesting and could have dire consequences if this person that I'm going to talk about makes a misstep. The person I'm talking about, his name is Alain Robert. He has carved a unique niche in the annals of extreme human endeavors. Known globally as the French Spiderman, he has captivated and confounded audiences by scaling the world's most formidable urban structures. And this is a phenomenon that took off in the 1990s. And he has since inspired a whole new generation, let's call them TikTok explorers. So without all that pesky scaling of the buildings, but ultimately hitting the top or outside of the buildings for new extreme adventures. So this is the story of Robert's worldwide fame as the French Spider-Man, scaling tall buildings with only his hands, some chalk, pure grit, and a whole lot of bravery. This is how it all went south. Okay, so today we're talking about Alain Robert, the French. I wrote the French Superman. He is not the French Superman. He is the French Spider-Man. He's a really interesting guy with a surprising backstory. So who is this man? So Alain Robert is a free solo climber, meaning he scales some of the world's tallest skyscrapers without any ropes or harnesses, just climbing shoes and chalk. His climbs are often illegal and unannounced, adding to the danger and drama. So let me pause there. Do you remember when this was the thing in the 90s? It really started to take off, or especially New York, Chicago, Paris, some other destinations where they would break in, CNN or another outlet would break in and be like, yeah, there's a guy, it's that guy climbing whatever building in New York City, like the Empire State Building. Do you remember when this was a thing?
Yeah, I do. I remember, there was a time period when it wasn't just that. It was like these sort of daredevil high wire things, like where a strap or a cable strung across a canyon, climbing all kinds of buildings.
Well, and famously the guy that, and they did a documentary about the guy
Twin Towers.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Yeah, it's
absolutely nuts.
Absolutely crazy, and not for me.
Well, and it hasn't, like that kind of thing. It's not the 1%. It's not 1%. It's like 1% of 1% of people who are even attempt to do that. But then the people that are successful at it, what's the guy's name in Free? I think it's called Free Solo.
Free Solo, yeah.
Alex Hanold, I think is his name.
Yep.
If you haven't seen, guys, that documentary, Free Solo, it will blow your mind.
I was going to ask you if I knew that you had seen it. I assume so. And there's actually a little bit of a connection between Alex and Robert that I'll get into a little bit. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
It's crazy, man.
So this guy Robert has climbed over 150 buildings worldwide, from the Burj Khalifa in Dubai to the Eiffel Tower and Empire State Building. Over 150 iconic structures.
With just his hands and feet.
Yeah, there's some occasions where it was done with the blessing of the building, and they made him put a rope on.
Yeah.
Like they actually
just
planned
in case.
it. Yeah, just in case thing. But for the most part, and we're going to show a lot of this footage. He's actually posted a lot himself. And he's like sticking his hands and feet in the grooves between the windows and pulling himself up with his own strength. And not to mention the exhaustion that it takes and the pure stamina that it takes to be able to do that climb, right? Like if you get tired, you can't sit down.
Yeah, that's the thing that always gets me. I mean, if you can get over the fear of falling or you know what I mean, but like it is so taxing on your body, and you get 500 feet up and you cut your finger, or there's no one to save you and there's nowhere to go but up.
Right. How are you going to get saved, right? Like, anyway, so this is the crazy part that I did not know. He has severe vertigo. So
smart career choice.
Yeah, condition that causes dizziness and balance issues. Yet he says climbing helps him overcome his fear of heights. I mean, like,
that's as backwards as you could possibly get.
I know, right?
That
Can you
it's like being afraid, like deathly afraid of guns, and when I'm going to join the military tomorrow.
Yeah, that was surprising to me. And I think a lot of this started when he was young. He survived a 15-meter fall, and was in a coma when he was young. He was at 19. He fell. It was like 49 feet during a training climb. He went into a 5-day coma and suffered multiple fractures. Doctors doubted he'd even walk again. Yet he returned to climbing just a few months later. I mean, this is a guy that says, "I survived this, kind of basically nothing can kill me. I don't care if I've got vertigo, I'm dizzy, I was in a coma or whatever. I'm just going to go ahead and do this." And it was very inspiring for him, right?
Clearly. Yeah, I
So,
mean, you think if you survive one near death experience, you don't push your luck.
yeah.
That would be my playbook.
Yeah, and he considers what he does not being a daredevil, but he considers it to be artistic and a form of expression. It's the French. I don't know.
I
I don't know what
guess.
it is. Always got to be fancy. My question for you is: have you ever done anything that people might be considered extreme, like that you've done? Anything like that you can think of?
I mean, I don't know about extreme, but like I was backpacking once in Utah with a buddy, and we had to get out of this canyon that was a couple hundred feet up, and I mean it was at certain points so sheer, and I do remember holding on to little ledge. Yeah, this is the stupidest thing I've ever done. But we were at this point we had to get out of the canyon, but yeah, I mean the holds that with our hands, some of them, and your feet were just over a quarter of an inch, and you've got a 40-pound, 45-pound pack on your
Yeah,
back. It
yeah.
was really, really stupid, probably, and really dangerous. Um, but that I look back on now, I look back on and go, like, what the hell were we thinking? Um, so other people might consider that extreme, a couple hundred feet. I would.
Or stupid, either
That's
one,
what I
right?
mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I have anything extreme. I do think it was cool when I did the zero G flight that I did, and it was like basically you're in a tube taking nosedives in a
Yeah.
plane with a professional pilot and doing zero G, and it was one of the first commercial flights in the United States as part of a media tour. I'll share some of the footage that I captured from like almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, and I'd consider that pretty extreme because
Yeah,
it wasn't. Now it's everybody knows about that, and a lot of people have done it. But you were kind of one of the first group of people to do that.
yeah.
So that's
I actually had an astronaut who was on the flight as one of the instructors. Um,
hold your puke bag for you.
did not throw up. Everything was good. I don't throw up on fishing trips. I'm pretty good about this stuff. But he's like, "Oh, the next thing we're doing is this rocket racing league, which was meant to be kind of these almost like rocket powered, almost like airplanes that were going to take these extreme, like I don't know, high wire type plane trips and races in America." And I don't know that it ever got off the ground. And I told my wife about it. She's like, "I think you've had enough." And that was it. You're
Thank
done.
thank you. No.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. So let's get back to our friend, Mr. Robert. How does this man get started? His inaugural skyscraper ascent was in Chicago in 1994 at the Northwest Atrium Center, which was 588 feet in height. And it really did mark the birth of this urban climber, this thing that was happening. And he said the city of Chicago had just opened a door to a whole new universe, a range of mountains of steel and glass. And that is exactly what it was. It was a whole new way to climb. And you can't even practice it before you do it, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't know how good a shape this stuff could be rusted. It could cut you, like you were saying.
Or that
Yeah,
you're going to get up there and not have anything to hold on to, because from the ground those buildings look pretty sheer. Some of them,
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And you were actually commenting about Alex Hanold from Free Solo, and I watched an interview. They've met. They've talked before. They've met, and Alex actually said something really interesting, which is He may be more famous for climbing these buildings, but he's actually an exceptional free solo climber on, mountain and rock structures. And he's pretty cutting edge in that. And he doesn't get the credit for what he does in that space. So, I mean, Alex Hanel would know like who these people are, but I think he did once he kind of retired from doing a lot of the buildings, even at an older age. Robert was pretty big on just like climbing the side of a wall,
Yeah, but there's a lifespan. If these people continue to do it, it's not a long lifespan of doing that kind of extreme climbing.
Well, and like free solo, right?
Yeah.
Like not everyone made it.
No, yeah, even before the end of that documentary, I think somebody had passed away, right?
That's
Like,
right.
during
That's
the
right.
making of it, it just
And it doesn't matter what your age, I mean, like,
or your skill
yes,
level.
yeah, or your skill level.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about a couple of his most interesting and notorious climbs. One was the Petronas Twin Towers in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, one of the world's tallest buildings. So he made multiple attempts at climbing the Twin Towers in Petronas, the Petronas Twin Towers. The first was in March of 1997, and they saw him arrested on the 60th floor, 28 floors shy of the summit. A similar fate befell him in 2007, again halted on that same 60th floor. Undeterred, he returned in September of 2009, and on his third attempt, successfully reached the pinnacle of the 88-story, 1,483-foot structure. This climb, like its predecessors, was unauthorized. So he cites this as one of his most favorite ascents because the towers are so beautiful and so tall and kind of just an interesting place that everyone would know about. So, and like a lot of these climbs, he actually does get arrested, but he ends up with just minor charges. Like, what are you going to do? Like, you're not going to throw
what
this guy this. And so,
I
like,
don't
he's
know,
not motivated to stop, is what I mean, right?
Places like Malaysia or Indonesia, these places we've talked about where their laws are crazy. Like, I'm sure he does some research, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're going to get arrested.
Yeah, yeah. The Burj Khalifa is the one that just scares me. Like I mean, world's tallest building, 2,716.5 feet. In a rare deviation, he followed some of the rules that they set. This climb was undertaken with official permission and with mandated safety equipment, including a rope and harness. So he had to comply. But he employed his customary technique, relying on his bare hands and climbing shoes without any additional aids beyond the required safety gear. The ascent, part of the Higher Education World Forum conference, took him 6 hours, 13 minutes, and 55 seconds, a feat recognized by the Guinness Book of World Records. Extreme weather conditions reportedly necessitated the use of a pulling mechanism at one point during the climb.
Yeah, because the weather's different at 2,800 feet, man. I mean, it's a lot windier.
6 hours is actually doing pretty good going up a building like that. But like that, have you seen, and we'll show this if you haven't seen, I'm sure everyone's seen this. Have you seen the footage of both Will Smith and Tom Cruise separately on top of the Burj Khalifa?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. And I get sick watching it.
Yeah, man. It's, and Tom Cruise is sitting there like,
yeah, he's like
just comfortable as could be.
There is no damn way. Like I almost want to vomit, honestly. Seriously, it's that extreme. Or you see like the people walk across the glass bridges where like they've got the fake cracking. Like that would throw me. Like I can't do that shit.
Yeah, yeah. Have you ever been in the Space Needle in Seattle?
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's got the glass floor in one part of it, and I mean, I'm not afraid of heights. But when I did that, I was there a couple years ago, and I mean, you step out on that, and it's, that it's safe. That's super thick, bulletproof glass, and you've seen 30 other people do it in the last 2 minutes. But it's that instinctual, like,
yeah.
Oh my God, I cannot imagine climbing the face of a mountain like that. So, these sheer cliffs like El Capitan
Yeah.
that Alex Honnold did, 3,000 feet straight up, no harness, no ropes, no nothing, or at the side of one of these buildings. There's no way. No way.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, we're not seeing on the building side, we're not seeing that as much anymore, but what we are seeing is I mentioned this at the top of the episode, the kind of TikTok generation of these extreme explorers who aren't necessarily like climbing
Trained.
the building, but they're like finding the stairwell and like the secret way up the building, and then they're like filming themselves and taking selfies and doing all that stuff and seeing if they can get away with it. So like it's kind of rogue stuff during the night. There's been a couple of those folks, and then it's like every once in a while you get this news alert like so and so has died as an extreme climber, or building, whatever you want to call it, building burglar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it like
There's another documentary. It was about a guy and a girl. I don't know if they were married or dating or whatever, but they did that all over the world. They would go up these huge cranes and walk out on
yeah,
construction cranes and one of them,
no
I
way.
think, died
Yeah.
recently, and that happens a lot. You've seen that a lot if you go on and check that out. How many of these TikTokers, doing it for views, and they're not trained. They're trying to be quick so they don't get caught, and film and get the good angle, and it's like,
Yeah.
is it
Well,
worth it?
and he did climb the Empire State Building in 1994, oh, which is significant, of course, because it's so iconic. New York City is going to get all the coverage, and it actually reminded me of some of the iconic footage when the Empire State Building was being built, and you've got the guys sitting on
The
the
girders,
steel girders, yeah, having lunch, like
Yeah.
iconic American photo. That would scare the shit out of me too.
So I saw something about that photo now that you mention it, because everybody, that is so famous, and the line of guys up there having lunch, and
Yeah,
somebody went, "What about the photographer?" Like, here's
right.
and there was somebody else apparently. I think this is real, but I didn't look far into it. But the photographer was standing like on the girdle with his camera on its separate girdle, or girder. I call it girdle, not a girdle. The fuck am I talking about? Girder. Um, yeah, man, I don't know.
Get the shot, to get the
To
climb, to
get the
whatever.
Yeah.
But they were just working, and there was no like. I had an uncle who actually worked on a lot of the Chicago skyscrapers as they were being built, and he would drive from Naperville into Chicago every morning, 2 hours, 2 hours back, and he'd be part of the process of building. Of course, more safe than back in those days with the Empire State Building, but still, right, scary. I could not do that.
No. I'll leave that stuff to somebody else. I value my life a little too
Yep.
much.
Yep. So a couple last buildings. He's also scaled the Eiffel Tower, of course, being the French Spiderman, and the Sears Tower, now called the Willis Tower in Chicago. He was the second individual to climb it. A man named Dan Goodwin um, had used suction cups and sky
I
hooks
remember that
to
guy.
climb. Yeah, and Robert said, "Okay, well, I'm going to do that without those things," and did it his normal way. It's pretty cool.
I guess. I mean, I don't know, man. I always see and I always see these things, and it's like extreme sports. It's like the guys who do like these, they're like 100 feet in the air on a like what's the BMX like monster extreme sports thing?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
X
X
Games.
Games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll have a guy, come down 100 foot, like almost straight down on a BMX bike, and do all these. I mean, I know you're making some money at this, like, but is it that much?
Yeah.
Because it just takes one time where something happens, like you're done, man. I don't know. For
Oh,
me,
I've been finding a lot of this stuff over the last week. Like a guy, it was in the 80s or 90s. It's the longest dive off of a diving board into a pool, and he's just out there in this little plank, and just
yeah,
he's got to go backwards, and no, I'm good. I'm
yeah.
good.
You gotta wonder if people, if they're able to control the fear, because it's humans are instinctually, it's instinctive to have fear of
Yeah.
things like that, like standing on a ledge. It's like if you've ever stood on the edge of a building or a cliff or anything like that, your body almost it just gets pushed backwards. It's your
Yeah.
body's way of trying to protect yourself. And are people like the Alex Honnold and this guy, are they able to control that somehow, or do they not have that
That's interesting. Yeah,
like other
I don't.
people do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, or it's blocked, or it's much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, and I think though it probably once you have it, it stays with you the rest of your life. I mean, I think he's around 61 years old right now. Again, he's not scaling tall buildings or anything like that these days, but he is still climbing, and he's got kind of the long gray, almost wispy hair, and he's like skin and muscles wrapping his bones,
Yeah.
and just like doesn't look like the kind of guy that
Sinewy.
would. Yeah, like he shouldn't still be climbing, but he is. He's still out there. And I just thought that was a really fascinating thing that I will never do. So that's the episode this week. Join us again next time for another episode of How It All Went South. And we'll see you again soon.
See you guys.